I coached basketball for many years and I've taught for over 30 years. And there's some things that I've noticed, some patterns I've noticed that lead to success, fulfillment, happiness, and other things that don't. One of the most overlooked things I see is the word caring. How much do you care? It sometimes gets cool not to care, or you think it's too painful to care. But when I look on the basketball court, the classroom, the game of life, wherever I might look, what I notice is that two people can be doing the same thing. They can be in the same classroom, have the same teacher, me, let's say, but they get different results. And if you look at one of the biggest factors of why is that, it's one kid or one student cared more than the other. Now, I'm not talking about strictly effort and desire. What I'm talking about here is a direction. When you care, it takes you on a different path, a totally different fork in the road than when you don't care. One could be more apathy and the other one is more caring. And it has such an impact. I've seen this over and over and over and over. I don't care where you start out in life. If you care about the results, if you care about your relationships, if you care about your work, even more than people think is reasonable, I think that's actually an advantage. But before we go too much further, I want to actually give you a definition I found of caring that I like. Caring is the act of ascribing meaning, value, or significance to something and allowing that importance to shape your behavior. I know when you care, you become a greater, bigger version of yourself. You bring out more of your skills and talents. I don't care if it's in carpentry and you care about the product, you care about what you're doing, the service, and you just make it so great. You get your skills better, you get more equipment, you're really into it, versus if you don't care. Because when you don't care, you just start disconnecting, you start shrinking, you become smaller and less, you have less capabilities. But when you care, something magical happens. You can take a relationship and make it better. You can take your work or your skills and you can improve them, enhance them. You can have more fulfillment in your life. And it boils down to something so simple that we take it for granted, and that is caring. And again, it's not just an emotion, it's a direction. It is taking you down a path if you care or if you don't. And when we look at young children, let's say a 4-year-old playing with some blocks, some wood blocks, and they're putting those together and they're building something and it falls over and they cry, they get upset. It's because they care. When they redo it again, it's because they care about it. They're not getting a motivational speech, they're not getting some reward. It's just something in them cares about that. Now, as we go through life, we start learning that we need to care less. And care less, you can see how that ends up. You be careless. But when you care less, sometimes that's because it's not cool, or other people aren't doing it, or I need to just chill out, right? What's wrong with you? Why are you getting so wound up about this? But when you care less, it has a significant impact on you, and it's taking you down that lesser path, that version of you who becomes less, does less, has less fulfillment, all that because you chose at some point to care less. Versus when you're like that little kid, that 4-year-old, they care just because they innately care. They didn't have to be taught to care. And I believe the same is true for you. You do not have to be taught how to care. You innately do care. You might wonder, why do we stop caring? And the first reason is because it hurts and it's painful. You've been possibly rejected, you failed, maybe in a relationship you were abandoned. Something happened where you cared, you put it on the line. It was important to you and meaningful to you, and you got hurt. It was painful. It was a negative experience. You wanted to go for something, you applied for a job and you got rejected. You went out on a date with someone and they said, I don't want to go on a second one. Something happened where you were running a business and it failed. Things didn't turn out how you wanted. So we have the feeling that when that happens, I want to lower the pain, and so I want to care less. I want to have less caring in this, because if I don't care as much, then it's not going to be as painful or as hurtful moving forward. Second is disappointment. You didn't get the results that you wanted. You put in the time, you put in the effort, and it didn't happen. Maybe you studied for a test, maybe you ran out for the track team, you didn't get in the first place. Something happened and you didn't get the results that you wanted. You were disappointed. Maybe you were overlooked. Maybe you were ignored. Something happened, and again, you felt this disappointment. And so you equated, if I go all in, if I care, if it means something to me, well, I don't want to risk being disappointed. So instead, you shrink, you lower your expectations, you don't put as much into it, because now I'm not going to get disappointed. Number 3, it feels risky. When people around you are cynical, negative, and those types of behaviors, it's real easy for you to say, well, I'm just going to turn it down and not care as much. Why should I care if the people I work with are cynical or have a defeatist attitude? Why should I care? It actually feels like you're protecting yourself from being so enthusiastic. If you're the only one cheering and enthusiastic, it's easy for you to just tone that down, turn it down. But it doesn't have to do that. You don't have to subdue that, but because it feels risky to stand out. It feels risky to say, you know what? I really care about this. This is really important to me. This is meaningful. And yeah, I might take some risk here. Maybe some people think I'm silly or wackadoodle or whatever, but it's worth it to me, and I do care. But instead, what happens is we're like, well, no one else is getting too excited about this. No one else is really involved in this. I'm just going to kind of tamper it down and subdue my enthusiasm and my interest. Now, these 3 things can impact you greatly. When you don't want to be hurt, you don't want to be disappointed, and it feels too risky. Because what happens is you feel like you're actually minimizing your cost, but you're actually increasing your long-term cost in a negative way. When I ask most people what's going on here, they say, well, I just stopped caring about this goal or working this hard or this relationship or this dream I had. They say, I just stopped caring about that. But what I really think is going on, and you feel this in yourself, is they stop caring about themselves. And they think it's the dream or the goal or the work, but it's actually themselves, because their own standards have been lowered, and their own word, they don't keep their own word to themselves. They don't follow through. Somehow, some way, this gets back to them. But it's easier to look at the goal or the dream and say, it's that. I just don't care about that anymore, rather than going inward and look at yourself and say, okay, maybe I did change, and it's okay to change, but what do I care about? What do I want to go for? What is meaningful to me? Instead, what happens is they say, I won't expect this out of myself, or I won't expect too much out of myself. I'll let this slide this time, or this is good enough for now, or this is fine, this is okay. So you get these subtle little shifts happening, and when you add those all up together, what you're seeing is a fundamental shift in the person. Whereas if you would back it up, there was a time when they did care, they would have went all out, they wouldn't have settled or lowered their standards, but here they did. So this is the real fork in the road. It's not the external object out there, it's internally in you. And what am I compromising on? What in myself do I really want, but it's been too painful, too disappointing, too risky, that I've lowered that instead of embracing it and leaning into it. They stop caring about who they're being. Really let this sink in. They stopped caring about who they're being. because this is a slippery slide where your standards start eroding, you start relaxing on things. And when you're not caring about who you're being or who you're becoming or who you are, then your health can slip, your standards can slip, your motivation can slip. Lots of things can go down when you care less. When you care more, it's more likely that they're going to go up. Now, we haven't brought this up yet, but you cannot care about everything equally. You have to make some choices here. And sometimes when I've brought this up to people, they'll say, well, you want me to just care about everything and be all in on everything? No. Life is a series of choices where you have to decide, what am I going to care about? What's going to be meaningful? But what I'm talking about here is really taking a step back, and you're not caring about the most important things, your relationship, your job, your schoolwork, whatever it might be that at once was important to you, but now it's less important. And you have to ask yourself, why did I do that? And then number two, when I did that, did I start lowering my standards, and did that start making me become less capable, less involved, less engaged? Because I think if you're honest with yourself, you'll see that it has. So if this is so common, why do people fall into the trap of caring less? Because in the short term, you get some relief, you get some comfort. It feels okay to not be pushing yourself or not be visible or not have people notice what's going on. It feels okay. But in the long run, it's very costly, because what happens is you have all this potential that's you, but when you don't care, your potential, you never reach it. It goes down lower than what you could have been, and you start diminishing your capabilities, your skills, the essence of you, rather than expanding and seeing all that you can be. Next, what I want to do is show you a caring star. This is something I developed, and I find it really useful, and hopefully you will too, because when you feel like, I don't know where to begin, I don't know what to do, this next part is for you, because it'll show you some simple ways. It's a simple little star, and I'll draw it out here. It's a simple star where you can see, oh, this is some things I can do. I can take these actions and turn this around right away. So let's go look at that. Here we have the caring star, and it starts off on number 1 with meaning. What does this mean to you? If you have no meaning, then it's going to be just a wandering nomad. If you have no meaning, then it stops right at the start, because you must answer the question, why does this matter to me? And no meaning equals no caring. Okay, it's just that simple. Number 2 is attention. You pay attention to what matters to you. You pay attention to what matters to you. That's where your focus goes. You notice the details. You're seeing more because you're paying attention. Number 3 is ownership. And here, are you taking ownership? Is this on me? Do you feel personally responsible? Or do you have a lot of excuses and blaming? Number 4 is effort. And it's not any type of effort. It is quality effort. This is where you're honest. There's no shortcuts. It might feel uncomfortable, but you're focused. You're all in. You're giving that quality effort. Number 5 is consistency. Are you able to do this with consistency? That doesn't mean just on one day or 1 week, or not when you're motivated or you feel like it. Are you reliable, and can you be consistent? That's where you're going to have that integrity, and that consistency is going to keep you going. Now, when you look at this, these all support each other. Meaning impacts down here with effort, consistency goes with ownership, attention goes with consistency. They all interconnect. Meaning goes down here with ownership, and effort connects with attention. So you see why it's a star, even though my drawing isn't the greatest. These all interconnect. If you don't have meaning, you're not going to be able to put in the effort. And if you don't put in the effort, you're not going to be consistent. I mean, these all interact and feed off each other and support each other one way or the other. Most people think caring is something that gradually declines. So you start up here and it just kind of slowly declines. And that can be the case. But what more often happens is if you go back and look at the origin point, you're going to see there was a decision you made to care less, to not go all in, to not be all in the relationship or at work. And that decision didn't seem that significant at the time. But remember, like I talked about the fork in the road, that was your fork in the road. And what you do once is easier to do again. And what you do multiple times is easier to keep doing. And when you take a step back and you look at this, you can see the pattern that I'll skip this once turns into I never do that anymore. I'll let this slide turns into I'll just kind of be mediocre here. And this doesn't matter that much turns into I get a free pass and I don't have to put all my effort into it. So somewhere, if you trace back far enough, you're going to see where you started making one decision and then that led to another decision and another one. And to get back on track, it's no different. You just have to decide that this matters, and you can decide to show up and be engaged, that you're going to follow through. It's as simple as when you go back and look at how did I split apart and get into I'm not caring as much. Well, now if you're at this point here, you can make a new decision and you can have a new V or Y in the road, and you can do that. So as simple as you made a decision to care less and stop caring, you can make one decision now to start caring more and to be more engaged and more where you're going to live from your potential and fulfillment rather than going backwards. You're not going to feel it first. I'm going to be right up front with you. You're not going to feel it first. You're going to decide first, and then the feeling comes second. If you wait to feel, then it might not ever happen. But if you decide and you start acting that way, then you're going to feel that. I know for myself, if I don't feel like walking, but I go out and I start walking, then 2 minutes turns into 10 minutes. But I didn't necessarily feel it in the beginning, but once I decided, then I started feeling that. Maybe you don't feel like having that conversation with someone. You call them up, and then after you're talking for a while, you're laughing, you're joking, and you're so glad you did that. It's the same thing here with this. You just have to decide, and then the feeling is going to lag behind, and you just need to expect that. What's one point on your star you want to work on? Maybe it's number 1, the meaning. You lost your why. Maybe it's number 2, attention. You're scattered and unfocused. It could be number 3, ownership. You're blaming or avoiding. Number 4, full effort. You take shortcuts. Number 5, consistency. You start but you don't finish. So what's just one small promise you can make and keep to yourself? Like, I will keep this commitment this week, or I will do X fully. Maybe that is, I will listen to my supervisor, not just think I'm going to hear what they're going to say, but truly tune in, hear and listen, and then respond. Maybe it will be, I'll set aside 15 minutes this week or each day to figure out what I want and why. Maybe if I don't have any meaning, if I'm not sure on that number 1, maybe I need to set some time aside to work on that. And if you do this, I really recommend doing it for at least 7 days before you see if it's working or not. Because some of these things is going to take time, like I said, to feel the motivation or feel the feeling of caring is going to take time. So if you don't give it enough time, lag time there, then you're going to stop before you feel the benefits of it. And you want to give yourself some solid evidence of your new direction. When you keep promises to yourself, when you start showing up consistently, when you go after what matters instead of what's comfortable. When you do that, caring is going to return and you're going to feel so much better. I know this might seem like, how could one thing make such a difference? But it really can. And when you know that this matters to me, it's important, I care about it, it just elevates everything. It makes it more meaningful. Like, for instance, if I'm watching a football game and I really don't care which team wins, I might enjoy it, but if I really care which team wins, I'm going to be into it. I'm going to be rooting. I'm going to be, angry. I'm going to be feeling all these different emotions because I'm more into it. And that's what you can experience too. If you want to leave a comment and tell me which one of the 5 points on the star hit you or said, oh, that one kind of resonated with me, that's something I want to work on, please put that in the comments. And if you think of someone else who might get some benefits from this video, please share it with them. Thanks for watching this video. Check out my YouTube channel for more videos or my website if you want to work with me directly. All the best to you. Every time you care, you create momentum toward a life that matters. You make a difference for yourself and for others. That difference builds. And over time, it becomes the separator between an okay life and an incredible one. It may feel small in the moment, but it's never insignificant. Caring is how you become fully alive.